Was YouTube Rewind really that bad? Well, no, not in my opinion, but that's because I haven't watched any of these in years. YouTube Rewind was always an interesting series to me. It started off as a year in tribute from YouTube by the trends and top videos of said year, and for a while as a preteen I looked forward to what they had to say in each installment. I have fond memories of watching these, but past the respective years, I never really went back to them. And I never actually watched the last few years, staying away because of the controversies and hate that it got. But I always thought that even though I never watched them, they really couldn't have been that bad. So today we're going to look at each YouTube Rewind from 2010 to 2019 and figure out where the series went so wrong. Also for funsies, I never really had an established rating system yet, so I'm rating these as well. Let's start with 2010. So, it's just a compilation. Okay, I mean, it's the first installment, a countdown of the top 10 videos of 2010, sure. Now, how much of these videos do I remember and how much do they represent the year 2010? Let's find out. Number 10 is a video of a race car from DC Shoes. Nothing says 2010 like DC Shoes. Number 9 is a video from Jimmy Kimmel surprising a little girl with Justin Bieber, and oh my god, that's Jimmy Kimmel. Number 8 is a trailer for Twilight Eclipse that tracks. Number 7 is a music video from OK Go, the treadmill guys from that one song. And I never actually heard of this video before, but it's pretty creative and I can't imagine how many takes it took. It's definitely interesting seeing videos so homemade like this in the earlier stage of the internet. I really like it. Number 6 is the Double Rainbow video, which I honestly thought was a lot older than 2010, but I still remember this a lot. Probably the most famous video here, but I mostly remember the remix.
Double rainbow, it's a double rainbow.
Number 5 is that really old Spice commercial, and I was gonna say cool and skip over it, but it really is fascinating seeing how abstract humor began to take over the internet, because this is a still pretty funny commercial by today's standard. Number 4 is, oh my god, I missed this. Number 3 is Grace and Chase, sure. Number 2 is the Key of Awesome's TikTok parody, which definitely is one I remember, and the number 1 video in this rewind is the Bed Intruder song, which I have fond memories of replaying over and over again. And yeah, this is a pretty accurate representation of 2010. The top 10 countdown style isn't really the thing I remember these for, but I know they get pretty creative later on, and for our first installment, it's what they set out to be. That's okay. Here's hoping 2010. Here's hoping 2011 is even better. 2010, it's simple but humble beginnings out of 10. So this one's a bit more showy, and even got living legend Rebecca Black to host it. That plus the videos included is just a good representation of the year, with Harry Potter trailers, Angry Birds, The Lonely Island. It's a really fun little slideshow that adds a lot more personality by getting meta and having Rebecca Black host it. It released only 2 months after Friday, which just goes to show how fast things were spreading even back then. This is pretty good. Let's look at 2012, even though I'm sure there'll be a lot less Nyan Cat. Last year's but a little flashier out of 10. Is it weird that I got a little emotional watching this? No? Okay. This entire thing is basically just a parody of Gangnam Style and Call Me Maybe, which are like stamped in the minds of anyone who was there at the time. They couldn't have chosen 2 better songs to focus on with this one, and the stars here were pretty good choices too. There are some ones that for sure fell off as time went on, but there are Smosh, the Rocket Jump guys, Red and Link, Annoying Orange Again, and Ryan Higa, all people whose content I thoroughly enjoyed back then. Even Psy himself shows up. There's Minecraft references, Halo references, they even got the guy whose whole thing was impersonating Obama. They even parodied the astronaut dude that jumped from space. This is a really good rewind. The first step is kind of like an actual celebration of the culture of the time by inviting these YouTubers out, and it seems like they all had fun. I love getting back to this era of YouTube out of 10. So this one completely raised the stakes, and I recall this one very dearly. A lot of the same stars from Last Year Return, and this time it focused on Blurred Lines, Harlem Shake, Can't Hold Us, and What Is the Fox Say? Some of the biggest songs of the year. We got a lot more niche things, like a bunch of dancers and singers I don't really remember, but that just goes to show how YouTube content was becoming more widespread with stuff for everyone. I will say though, Jimmy Fallon and Sesame Street showing up kind of makes the whole thing feel a bit corporate, which of course it is. But it's a bit jarring since last year had a bunch of creators who built their career from the ground up, and then you see these guys who had a name before YouTube, it just makes it feel a bit more fake. But that stuff gets a lot of views, so I won't complain too much. This video also reminds me of how big PewDiePie was. Like seriously, he was like that guy at the time, so much that he got his own section of the video. If I remember correctly, he was in a lot of these with his very own center moment. I hope that no controversy comes to that following certain points of his career. Not as good as last year's, but fun, out of 10. This one's the same formula, although I gotta say I really don't like some of the music choices here. But it's not like they couldn't have chosen them. These are indeed the biggest songs of that year, so yes, I'll sit through a remix of Fancy and All About That Bass for historical integrity. This time there's a lot more YouTubers that I don't recognize, and like I said, that's a good thing. We have more international hits, so including them is good, even if not everyone knows them. We have the usual mainstays like Smosh and Corridor and Freddie Wong, but we also get into things like the Ice Bucket Challenge, which I'm glad they included to have some fun while also not forgetting it started as a way to fight ALS. We have even more talk show host and cameo from Big Bird, but as I watch these, I do realize that late night talk show clips are, or at least were big on the site. Whenever I go on a website on a computer that didn't automatically log me in, I see them on the front page, so I do accept it. There's a lot of references to stuff I long forgot, so it's nice to rediscover some of these things. I'm not so hot on the whole Frozen part of the video, but I can't deny it has a place in pop culture. Overall, this one's consistent with the other ones, but 2014 was not a good year trend-wise, so personal enjoyment does take a place in the ranking. Weak year, but a cool video nonetheless. Out of 10. So this one starts off not very good. We start off with 2 minutes with people just dancing, and while yeah, these are topical, it's not all that riveting. Also, it feels like they just needed a place to throw all these vloggers who absolutely peaked here and then fell off the face of the earth. After dancing to a song that I'm pretty sure aged totally well, we go to a Mad Max setting and it's pretty cool. Jesus. And then it leads us to a parody of the Shia LaBeouf Just Do It video, which I got a lot of enjoyment out of as a kid, so that was cool. Then we get a Five Nights at Freddy's section led by Markiplier, my favorite YouTuber at the time and my favorite game at the time. I was not popular in middle school. This is where they put all the gaming YouTubers, which was a pretty nice change of pace from all the dancing. We even see Freddy and Chica before we get to an underground dance battle with Can't Feel My Face by The Weeknd, but it's probably the most relevant song and artist in any of these rewinds, funny enough. But then it kind of stops and has a quick montage of things like the Ice Bucket Challenge, but also Double Rainbow and Friday, which I guess is showing the last 10 years of YouTube since this was the anniversary. And then it just ends. As a rewind and capturing in 2015, this one isn't that great. All of the settings kind of feel lackluster. Like that was the Mad Max reference? Was there some big viral moment with the beach that required the first section of the video to take place there? I know The Force Awakens came out at the very end of the year, but absolutely nothing Star Wars related. Then the final montage doesn't really feel like it's celebrating the last 10 years of YouTube, just a couple of thrown together segments. Didn't really enjoy this one out of 10. Let's hope 2016 is better. Honestly, I was expecting these to get worse as the years went on, but I surprisingly like 2016 a lot more than 2015. There's inclusions here that are no doubt a product of his time. Like we have an entire pan reveal to Damn Daniel, who I thought was some forgotten vlogger until they played the sound clip. 2016 was a lot more culturally enriching than 2015, at least for me. So all the references to the Running Man challenge, the mannequin challenge, the water bottle flip, pink pineapple apple pin just felt so well done to me instead of cringeworthy. Like those are the biggest moments of 2016, no doubt. I got used to the late night hosting these, even him. But The Rock starting this whole thing off is kind of weird. I know he had a channel, but was he really that big? He gets a more notable moment than PewDiePie, who I'm starting to think either doesn't want to be in these or has a very limited schedule, because if I recall correctly, he's barely in these. Usually just look at the rewind logo and going like, whoa, I'm gonna press this. They have one more year to set things right. Speaking of gaming YouTubers, these guys being in a fighting game parody with some guy who I'm sure was big at the time in the corner, that was a nice touch. But of course, I was more into the gaming side of YouTube at this time, so that was my favorite part of the last few years. We get this big build up towards the end with the reveal being Lily Singh. Like damn, I didn't really watch her content, but was she really like this huge? Huge enough to get her own TV show, but like wow, I do not hear about her anymore. So in that regard, it did age weirdly. Anyways, while this was a lot of dancing again, I think the presentation wasn't as empty as 2015's, and the production budget is 100% either more or just used more efficiently because this is light years ahead. A strong return to form than last year's. Out of 10. So this time, I don't think I watched this one. I definitely was at a phase where I was a little more self-aware and realized these were a little awkward, even if it's kind of a given, so let's give this one a shot.
A few minutes later.
But I always thought that even though I never watched them, they really couldn't have been that bad. Sometimes I don't like myself. This is just bad, and it's not because of the Paul brothers or the rest of Team 10 or the Bad Bat Kids shouldn't be here, because it's not fair. It was 2017, and love them or hate them, they were a big part of the year. This is bad because of how sloppily everything is put together. The transitions are a lot more awkward, everyone moves so fast you can't really tell who's who. There's two different sections of the Shooting Stars meme, which granted was very fast paced and a green screen prone meme, but the way it was executed doesn't really allow for anything to really shine. Same with the graveyard scene, which allows for some nice Easter eggs for dead memes, but they put makeup over all YouTubers and no one really gets an individual moment to shine. Markiplier and Lily Singh are kind of regulated to extras here, which I honestly understand. That phase of content was kind of waning at this point, but then you get the Paul brothers, which like I said, I don't know if this is the era of them being annoying or straight up offensive, but this is their year, right? But really? That's it? Also, halfway through the rewind, we get a very awkward transition into a bunch of real world events that were going on at the time. And while I don't think they should completely shy away from that stuff, it's a little jarring, and the compilation of everyone holding hands has the same energy as an anti-bullying ad they show in school. 2014 had an Ice Bucket Challenge section of the video, and there were links to donate to ALS research in the description. But this time around, the escapism is gone, and the video screeches to a halt to remind you that everything sucks. Are these YouTubers or stock footage? Were you really throwing paint at each other this much? I don't remember any of that, like at all. And isn't there someone missing? In My Suffering, out of 10. This is the one that caused all the controversy? Really? I actually kind of liked it. First off, the Will Smith thing. Sure, celebrities have been in these things for years, and I remember when Will Smith actually rebranded himself as a YouTuber. I don't hate it. Also, this one has a story. It takes place on some island with a bunch of cutaway guys around a campfire. Not bad in concept. I think the usual wackiness of a rewind has been a bit lost when done like this, but only because they don't dedicate themselves to it for too long. They really should have spent more time on that, because until the 4-minute mark, I had a smile on my face. The Bongo Cat wedding, the In My Feelings challenge, the Yodeling Kid inside of the marshmallow helmet, and the entire Fortnite homage. I didn't hate it. Could do with less Casey Neistat though. I know this received criticism at the time for Fortnite and K-pop, but keep in mind that these things are, and hell, still are popular things. Also, the fact that the animated parts are now integrated into live action is awesome, and they do a good job of bending it well. But then we get to the part that even I knew about despite staying away from this video. Yeah, like I said, it's a little self-righteous and definitely teeters on disingenuous. My only problem isn't that it's wrong to highlight important topics like these, but it's the fact that these things were already highlighted within the series, just in a more subtle way. Not to mention the acting borderlines on parody. YouTube Rewind was a series of melting pot of cultures, whether they come from different countries, different backgrounds, or just different types of YouTube entirely. I refrain from saying I don't know anyone here too much because there's someone for everyone. It's already an extremely inclusive thing, but I understand YouTube is more of a business now and they need to pat themselves on the back for this kind of thing, which is exactly why I don't get the hate for not including PewDiePie. I mean, he did some messed up stuff. If this entire thing was in my hands, I'd do a lot more things differently, but I don't think I would have included him either. This whole thing is supposed to be about positivity, so why are people mad about the KSI Logan Paul beat not being included? It just wouldn't be a good look for something that's supposed to be fun. I don't know, this wasn't nearly as bad as people made it out to be, and I think the concept was strong, but the message tried to convey wasn't as impactful as they thought it'd be. Most disliked video ever? Undeserved. Out of 10.
That's it?
Okay, this one is definitely regressive, dialing things back to the 2010 rewind, which basically was just a beta version of this, giving us a couple of top 10 lists with some honorable mentions and other milestones in there. It even starts off with YouTube acknowledging the backlash against last year's rewind and going, oh, you didn't like last year's? Fine, take this, with this being literal statistics of the website, which would be fine if you didn't spend the last 7 years actually inviting these creators out to act out these trends. Like, yeah, I get why they reverted back to this very outdated format, but really, stop doing the normal rewind format altogether. People didn't like YouTube Rewind because it told us what the year's more popular things were. They like Rewind because it was a giant fusion of those things, mixed in with the people that brought the content to the website. The passive aggressiveness really is the worst part of this otherwise fine video. The style's a lot more engaging, seeing as editing has evolved 9 years since the last Rewind to use this format, but it really does pale in comparison to the last 7 years of creativity poured into the Rewinds we got. Needs some more Rebecca Black out of 10. And then that was it. This video also didn't do well with the community, so after understandably saying that there'd be no 2020 rewind, in 2021 YouTube officially canceled the series. Was this the right move? I would have kept it going personally, but honestly, I think it was. YouTube Rewind really covered all the popular corners of YouTube, but the website was changing. It wasn't so niche anymore as a place where you upload whatever you have recorded on your camera. It was a business, and that means getting celebrities on board, alienating any controversial figures regardless of popularity, and with that comes a disconnect with the community. Also, the later years will provide a sense of uncomfort in the viewers. While the memes and songs used were certainly popular, the landscape was changing. Memes died faster and songs got replaced. Gangnam Style was funny for a whole year, but nowadays I'd give it a week, tops. It's harder to appreciate things from earlier in the year without someone taking a look at it and going cringe. But if you don't put those older things in, people will complain about them not being in, so really there's no winning. If Rewind 2018 didn't have Fortnite, would it really be an accurate representation of the year? But it did have Fortnite, a popular thing, so therefore it's bad. Points are docked because of it. So what killed YouTube Rewind? I think the evolving internet attention span and the disconnect between the viewer and the website killed it. I just don't think there's a spot for something like this anymore. I mean, look at all the annual rewinds we got now. Spotify, Snapchat, PlayStation, they're all based on content you made or played. It's all statistics now, facts you can't run from. Original content that reflects the year I think might be gone, and I don't blame YouTube at all for making that choice. You can't please everyone, and everything that's called cringe now is going to be nostalgic 10 years later down the line when we don't have that thing anymore. That's just how the world works. Speaking of bad attention spans, if you made it this far in the video, thank you very much. And if you want to, leave a subscribe and a like so I know these are the kind of videos we make. Now I'll leave it to Academy Award winning Will Smith to close us out in the video.
Oh, that's hot. That's hot.
Eu disse um A por nosso amor. Eu disse um B